House of the Dragon, and this has been out for a while, so I don't think the spoilers are that significant with this. So I've watched Game of Thrones. I wouldn't say I'm a super fan or fan. Well, I like it. I just wouldn't say I'm a fan. I do like it. And I've always thought Game of Thrones was kind of slow and heavy on the politics, but as you get through the seasons, there's a lot of payoffs. There's a lot of payoffs. There's a lot of interesting characters. They may not be likable, and ultimately, that's why I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of Game of Thrones. That I like the storytelling for the most part. I think it's a pretty good series, but they don't really have a lot of likable characters. As the storyline goes on, you get to see everybody's like pretty crappy. Um, you know, outside of like really only Brienne of Tarth. Really, I mean, most of the characters, 90% of them are revealed to be just terrible people. Um, so I went into this House of the Dragon looking for, I guess, the same experience with sort of this politically driven show that was like eventually going to give you some payoffs and give you some mystery and some magic and some really otherworldly stuff. So far, I've made it through a binge through season 1 and 2. Season 1 felt like homework. It is it's slower than the original Game of Thrones, which is surprising, and it's even more heavy-handed with the politics because it's like the politics of just this one house, and I just found the characters to not be that interesting. There's only a few that's interesting. Forget likable. There's only a few that are interesting, and I feel like some of the magic in the teasing of this supernatural fantasy world that we got in Game of Thrones, we don't get half as much in House of the Dragon. Yeah, there's more dragons, but it feels like it's less mysticism. The White Walkers are talked about, but we don't really get the real lore of it. And honestly, the political drama doesn't really heat up until I feel like you're in the middle of the second season. And then it's like, okay, but I understand you have to get people familiar with the characters and get them to care about it before you can actually really create that tension and drama, really have those payoffs. One thing I will say I do appreciate about this series as opposed to the original Game of Thrones is how they time jump. I do appreciate that. You jump in years later from some episodes, which is kind of cool. And you see how some of the events from previous episodes pay off years down the line. So I do appreciate that. I don't understand how you retcon black people though. That one is I just like it just fucks with me. I'm gonna just be honest. It just fucks with me. Like I just don't understand. Like I get it as a creator. Y'all got some notes. Y'all got some notes. Where are all the black people? There's like 3 black people in the whole series. And then all of a sudden in the past, there's black people on every level of the hierarchy. There's black people royals, there's black people as commoners, as small folk, whatever you want to call them, and warriors. And it's like, where did all these people go? This is 200 years in the past, right? So what happened? So this is what the past looked like. Very diverse. But then you go 200 years into the future, no black people? All right. So there's that. Again, I'm only up to the second season. I'm probably gonna watch the third just to homework, do the homework. It's entertaining for the most part, and I'm the type of person like I get hooked on story. So once I'm invested somewhat in the story, all right, yeah, I at least want to see how this is going to pan out. And Damon, I think, is a very interesting character. Reyna is an interesting character, I think. Aemond, obviously interesting, and I want to see where that goes. The guy with the bad leg, who's the master of whispers, I think he's very interesting. So there's a few characters that I want to see, like where is this going and where they're trying to take it. But no pun intended, they dragging it oh my God, they're dragging it. It's like, how the hell am I going into the third season with y'all barely just getting into the war? It's nuts. And I feel like we won't see the end of the war until like the fifth or sixth season or whatever, if I even last that long. But it's just funny to watch it and think like, some people complained with the original Game of Thrones was it wasn't enough dragons, and now we have more dragons, and it just seems more boring somehow. But you know, that's the whole thing. But yeah, I'm gonna check out that third season and report back, see what how that looks, see if like it comes to sort of a little bit more, picks up the dramatic speed, I guess.